this live stream with me, Manil, here on Unacademy's YouTube channel. So today's live stream is all about helping you understand what is it that you need to do well on the IELTS test, right? And what is the core strategy that you can follow to do well on the test itself, right? So just 1 second. I'm just getting the right. So here we are. Let's just bring it up on my phone. Excellent. I can see the live stream myself now. So if there are any questions, any doubts, I'll be able to answer those for you. Excellent. All right, guys. So yeah, let me introduce myself first. So my name is Manil Agarwal. I am an IELTS trainer, right? I've been training for IELTS for over 2 years, and now I am here on Unacademy's platform, the app itself, teaching for IELTS. I have appeared for the test myself. I've appeared for both the academic and the general training tests, and I have scored band 8.5 on both occasions, right? I scored band 9 on listening and reading, band 8 on speaking, band 7.5 on writing for both the tests, right? So my scores were identical. So that is how I have performed on my IELTS test. Now, like I said, I've been teaching for IELTS for a while now, so 2 years full time, but I've been involved with the teaching for a lot longer. I have been a language trainer for a longer time, and I think I know exactly what you need to crack the IELTS test. Now, most of you are not doing well on the test for two reasons. One, you are not preparing the way you should, and two, you are preparing those things that you don't need to. Okay, so those are the two primary problems which are leading to people not doing well on the test at all. So let's begin by understanding what is the IELTS test. Okay, so the IELTS test stands for, the name IELTS stands for International English Language Testing System. All right, that is what it stands for. That is IELTS. So why this test? Why have they made this test? For whom have they made this test? Right? So why this test? So this test was made to check or test the ability of non-native English speakers ability to communicate using English as a language. Okay, using English language. Now, what does that mean? What that means is that people who come from countries where English is not the language, the mother tongue of most of the people, are they trained enough in the language, in English, to be able to communicate in it? Okay. So people who do not come from countries such as England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, United States of America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, right, and other dependencies of the English, of the British Empire, where English is the native language, those people are the ones for whom they have made this test. So most of the people from countries, so most of the test takers for IELTS hail from countries such as India, South Asia, so India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Afghanistan, a lot of Germans, French, Italians, right? All of these people take the IELTS test, right? Why do they take these tests? They take these tests to study abroad. All right. So the reasons for taking the test are to study abroad, to work abroad, okay, or to immigrate. All right. Now, for those of you who are watching, because most of you are watching in India, here's something very interesting. A lot of students who are looking to study at the graduation or post-graduation level in India, or from other countries, also need to appear for the IELTS test, because most of our graduation and post-graduation taught courses are in English, right? So almost every student who's coming in to study in India also has to appear for the IELTS test. Now coming back to, so what is the test? So coming back to what is the test? Now, what I said, like I said, it is for non-native English speakers. Okay, people who do not speak, whose mother tongue is not English, right? So my question is, to do well on the test, right? Do you need to speak like a native? To do well on the test, do you need to speak like a native? If you are a non-native English speaker, can you speak like a native? The answer is no. So how can you speak? Why would the test maker expect that to give you a certain band score, you have to speak like a native English speaker? You don't. Answer is no. You don't have to speak like a native, all right, to do well on the test or to score well on the test. Here's another question. What does it mean to speak like a native speaker? What does it mean to speak like a native speaker? You see, nobody will be able to give you that answer. See, I'll tell you a word. So I have done my master's from UK, all right, and I'm so sorry about that. So I have done my master's from UK, okay, and UK in England itself, right? So I've studied in a city called Nottingham, which is bang in the middle of England, like it's the heart of England. And people around there speak some really fluent, wonderful, very clean, very correct English, okay, which is something which is not necessary across England, right? So in fact, actually, as you start traveling around England, you'll realize that within the land country itself, people speak in different dialects. The way they speak is different. The vocabulary they use is different. The same words could mean very different across two different cities. Let's take an example of London and Manchester, two of the furthest cities in the English country, right? In England, right? And the way they speak, how they speak, what they speak is completely different. So what do you mean by speaking like a native? So because if you were to compare somebody from England to somebody from Australia, it's completely different once again. So how do you speak like a native? Right? You actually don't. Now, I know people have looked at the sheet and it says, oh, can speak like a native English speaker. Now, what do they? So indeed, there is something like a native English speaker, something like a native English speaker. And what does that mean? So a native speaker is someone who would speak in English without any hesitation. Now, when I say hesitation, it doesn't mean that they'll be, oh, I don't want to say this point. What I mean is they won't have any trouble speaking whatever they wish to say using English as the language. Okay, so it's probably how you could put this is they're probably not first thinking in their native language, then translating, and then speaking in English. Okay, they want to say something, they can instantly speak in English. Now, how good is that English? Is it very clean? Is it very bad? That is a different scene. Okay, that's a different scenario altogether. But a native speaker is somebody who thinks in English and speaks in English. All right, that is all that native speaker means at the end of the day. Okay, so how do you actually become a native speaker? because it's important, right? At the end of the day, if you want to do well on the test itself, it is important that you're thinking in English and you're speaking in English, right? To begin with, it's not possible. I mean, every person who first starts learning a second language, whether you're learning, so let's say, so my first language is Hindi, right? My second language is English. And in fact, my second language is Gujarati. My third language is English, right? So for somebody who is just starting to learn English, it is not possible to immediately start speaking like a native speaker. You will think in your native language, Hindi, Gujarati, Malayali, Telugu, whatever language you're thinking, and then translate and then speak in English, right? So how do you actually go about becoming a native speaker, right? So before that, let's put it this way. So considering what we've done, a native speaker is somebody who can communicate, who can communicate with ease in English. All right. So how do you find that comfort while speaking in English? How do you find comfort while speaking in English? So there are three things that you need to do. Okay. The very first is learn the language. Second is practice. Okay, practice using the language. And third is use it on a regular basis. All right, so these are the three things that you have to do to improve your language, to become a native speaker. How to become fluent. Now, the thing is, the most important, now a lot of you have this in your mind. Oh, but I have to give my IELTS test next week, right? How can I become, I don't know, मेरे को तो कुछ नहीं आता, मैं एक हफ्ते में तैयारी कैसे कर सकता हूँ? Well, I'm sorry to break it to you, right? If your test is next week and if you're not fluent or if you're not comfortable, right? I'm going to remove the word fluent from here. That also is another word that most people don't understand, all right? You cannot do well on the IELTS test, all right? IELTS test is all about checking your ability to speak in English. And English is not about memorizing 40 words or 50 words or memorizing a few phrases or a few sentences and then just going out and blurting them out. Right? That is not how it is. See, most of the students end up, I have seen a lot of students, they memorize a lot of things for the speaking and the writing test, okay, and they end up scoring band 6 on speaking and they'll probably end up scoring band 6 on writing, but when it comes to their reading and their listening, they'll score 5.5, they'll score 4.5, right? The reason for that, you can't read because they can't understand what is being written, right? What has been written, they can't understand what is being said. So what's the point? What is the point? You can't just, your IELTS test is not just about doing well on the listening and on the speaking and the writing test. It is about doing well on all 4 tests. So if you have to do well on the IELTS test, you'll first have to learn English, which means you'll have to give yourself some time, right? This is like saying, you know what? I've just picked up my bag. I've just been born and now I want to score a century like Virat Kohli. That is not possible. See, Kohli for 15, 20 years of his life, he's been practicing and practicing and practicing and practicing and practicing, and which is why he is where he is today, right? Now, I'm sure a lot of you are going like, oh, but I just need to score this, right? I just need to score this. So let's understand something here. What do they mean by band scores? Okay, what is a band score on the IELTS test? You see, so very quickly, band 0 to 4 is somebody who no English. Let's just say this person has no English or a few words in English, right? Just possible English. Can possibly somebody at band 4 can say hi, hello, so can greet, can ask you for time, can probably ask you for a few directions, probably can also give you a few directions and tell you the time, can ask for water. It's just survival, This person, if they are in a country where they speak English, this person will just be able to pass through for survival, like ask for food, water, directions, and that's it. Now, what is a band 5? Band 5 is a person who can use English, right, to speak in their area of operation. all right, but not beyond, not beyond. And even within their area of operation, so let's say somebody is a computer scientist, is into coding and so on, whatnot, right? They can speak English that is necessary to operate in that area, that too with a lot of mistakes. Okay, band 6 is somebody who can again they can do well in their area of operation. Okay, plus they can also now speak about other topics but with a lot of mistakes. Like the moment you step beyond their area of operation and you start discussing other things, they'll probably find it very difficult to at least speak. Yes, they'll be able to understand what is being said, but they won't be able to say or put through anything on their part, right? Sorry, not 0 to 5. Band 7 is someone who can speak about everything. They will be able to put forth they will be able to hold a conversation or put forth ideas about almost everything, right? And yes, there will be a lot of mistakes, but nonetheless those mistakes won't be so bad that the person is not able to make sense. Okay, band 8 is somebody who can again now do very well and make very few mistakes. So now a person at band 7 and onwards, right? So what is the difference between band 7 and 8? It's not just about mistakes. It is also about a person at band 7 will, yes, put forward an idea, right? Will also probably be able to discuss it well. But a person at band 8 will be able to put forward an idea, discuss it well, hold an argument. By argument I don't mean fight. By argument means they'll raise a point and they'll be able to justify it. Okay, they'll be able to share, okay, this is what is happening, this is how things are, right? So that is what a person at band 8 will be able to do. And person at band 9 will make no to rare mistakes, and at the same time they'll be able to take a conversation to a proper conclusion. They won't leave a conversation sort of hanging somewhere in the middle. So they raise a point and then they go all the way through to the end. Okay, so let's say if I start discussing what are the reasons for global warming, I'll first state my reasons, I'll be able to I'll be able to expand on those reasons, and then after I've done all of that, I'll then bring my conversation to a proper close, explaining what I mean. Okay, so that is what somebody at a level of band 9 will be able to do. Now see, for most people who are looking to go abroad and study, they need to be band 6, right? For those of you who are looking to immigrate, you have to be band 7. Now band 7 is not easy, right? You should be able to speak about everything. Okay, for those of you looking to be at band 6, you should be able to speak about everything, but that's fine. Even if you're not able to hold a conversation beyond your own area of operation, that's fine. But that being said, you should still be able to speak about those topics, if not at length. Within your area of operation, you should be able to hold fort, right? You should be able to put up a conversation, put up an idea, explain it, right? Even if you do not take it all the way through to conclusion, but you'll still be able to explain it properly. So how do you do all of this? You don't do this by memorizing a few words. Okay, you don't do so by memorizing a few words. You do so by learning the whole language, right? Not just randomly going about, okay, I'll learn this and I'll learn that, and आप तो मुझे बस idioms पढ़ा दो, आप तो मुझे बस थोड़े से ये वाली vocabulary रटवा दो, या मुझे paraphrasing सिखा दो. ऐसे नहीं होता. Okay, ऐसे नहीं होता. Paraphrasing, vocabulary, idioms एक बहुत limited part है English language का. Okay. So how do we do this? How do we actually become good at, how do we learn, how do we do well at the language? How do we become comfortable at communicating in English? We first learn the language, then we practice using the language, and then we use it on a regular basis. So how do you learn the language? So what do you need to learn as part of the language? Okay, so you need to learn 3 things as part of the language. The first thing is you need to learn grammar. Okay, you need to learn vocabulary. And then finally you need to learn how to put together a communication, right? Probably not the best way to put it that way. You need to learn how to hold a conversation. Okay, let's keep it that way. So grammar, vocabulary, and then finally how to put together a conversation. No, I'm so sorry, I'm not getting that right. So it's grammar, it's yeah, I'm sorry. No, it's actually just two things. It's not three. I'm so sorry. It's you have to learn your grammar and your vocabulary. Okay. Now, most people when they hear grammar, they go like, "अरे यार grammar, मुझे नहीं सीखनी grammar. Oh, what is this with grammar, यार? Oh no 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 no." And which is why everyone starts learning vocabulary, right? And then people go mental. They'll start learning all sorts of words, whether you need those or not, right? And then go like, "Oh, this is native level vocabulary." Let me tell you, I have a lot of British friends. Trust me, even they when because I mean I've been teaching for IELTS, I share with them, the kind of words I I keep hearing from students, right? And even they start laughing. They're like, dude, even we would not use that on a forget daily basis, even in the most formal of setting. So many words that we memorize today as part of vocabulary here in India are words which are redundant. Redundant means which are of no use anymore, right? They're not used any longer. These were words which are used 100 years ago, right? But because some English teacher in some convent school put together a list 70 years ago, and that list has now been passed around, right, for generations and generations. So people are still learning the same vocabulary, irrespective of the fact that we don't even need it anymore. Okay, so that is really not how things work. So how do you learn your grammar and how do you learn your vocabulary? Now for IELTS, you don't really need to learn everything. There is for IELTS, you need to learn, let's say, basic to intermediate grammar. Okay, that is what you need to learn. So by basic I mean parts of speech, nouns, pronouns, adjectives, adverbs, right? Verbs, prepositions, conjunctions. And intermediate I mean sentence. So basic would also include the simple sentence structure. Intermediate would include the compound and the complex sentences, passive voice, and that's more or less about it. Vocabulary, well, vocabulary you just need to do theme, topic, let's call it theme based vocabulary. Okay, so for the IELTS test, there is a list of 20 topics from which you get your topics for all four sections: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. All right, within those 20 topics, if you prepare your IELTS vocabulary, you're sorted, you're good. Okay, you don't really need to do anything beyond that. Now when I say vocabulary over here, see, even vocabulary you can't just randomly memorize words, right? Vocabulary is best learned with grammar. Okay, it is best that you learn these two together. Why? Vocabulary at the end of the day is even has a set of rules that you need to follow. Okay, and those rules are nothing but grammar. What is grammar? Grammar is a set of rules that you follow. Grammar is a set of rules that you follow to make a sentence. That's it. Nothing else. As simple as that. So if you know those rules, you can make your sentence correctly. And trust me, you will score a lot more on speaking and writing if your sentence is correct. Okay? And your vocabulary is average, as against if your sentence is all wrong, but you have a few complex or rich vocabulary words. Okay, whatever that is. I don't know. I just keep hearing this from a lot of students who are preparing for IELTS. I keep hearing this from a lot of IELTS trainers who have not appeared for the test themselves, or they have no clue what they're teaching about. Okay, the lazy teachers who are like, oh, here's a list, go just memorize it, go appear for the test. Those are the kind of teachers who will give you these rich and complex vocabulary words to memorize. But that is really not how it works. See, it is something as simple as this. If you can understand what are adverbs and what do they do in a sentence and how to use them, once you've understood that, trust me, you'll be able to use them so well. And not just that, you'll be able to improve your overall answer to such an extent that you can go from a band 5 to band 8, right? Of course, there are a few steps. It's not like just because I've taught you what are adverbs, so now you're suddenly band 8, right? Which brings us to the next step. Once you've learned your grammar rules and your vocabulary, it is important that you keep practicing. So how do you practice? Well, there are a few ways to practice. You could pick up a grammar book. Okay, you could pick up a grammar book, you could pick up a grammar plus vocabulary book, right? And you could practice from there. That is one way to do so. Or the other way is you could, start doing a lot of writing yourself at home. Pick up questions and solve those questions. So that is another way to do this. And there is a third way that you can follow, and that is you can join me on Unacademy Plus. Okay, you can join me on Unacademy Plus, where you learn the language and you practice the language. Okay, both the steps. So Unacademy Plus is a part of the Unacademy app, right? It is a subscription based platform. What does it mean? It means that you have to pay a fees to attend the classes. Okay, now please, if you're thinking that, oh, I just want everything for free, then stop joking with me, stop kidding. I think just forget IELTS, move on, right? There are those who are very good at English and don't need to pay for IELTS preparation, okay, which is fine. They can just go appear for the test. They don't really need to waste their money appearing for the IELTS test. But there are a lot of you out there, okay, who do not know their English, keep talking about going abroad, and the best and the interesting part is they take their test as well. They appear for the English test 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. They waste their money, okay, but they are not willing to pay for a subscription for an IELTS coaching class. So please, if you are one of those, this is not for you. But if you are one of those two people who's serious, wants to prepare well for the test, and does not want to waste money by appearing for the test over and over again, for you Unacademy Plus is a serious option. Hi Pachu, welcome to the class. How are you doing today? All right. So anyways, so what is Unacademy Plus? So Unacademy Plus, like I said, it's a Shivani, if your test is on 14th of December, I know your test is on 14th of December. I don't know what have you done about it. Have you started practicing? Have you started taking any classes? What are you doing about it? Or are you just going about telling everyone that your test is on the 14th of December? Because we've had this conversation twice in the past. So anyway, so on Unacademy Plus, I offer two courses, right? One is the grammar course or the language course. Let's call it the language course. So where I actually teach you English. So this is typically for students who are weak at English, right? And they need to prepare well before they can appear for the test. Otherwise, they will not score well on the test itself. Okay. And then there is the IELTS class. There are the IELTS classes. So these are classes where I actually help you understand what are the type of questions they're asking on the test, or what are the kind of challenges you can face, and then we answer those questions and then we practice those questions. So that is how we go about preparing for the test. Okay. So for this, you'll have to, like I said, you'll have to pay a fees, right? The fees for 1 month is 2,700 rupees, right? If you use my code, which is IELTS by Manil, it'll be 2,430 rupees, which I think is the most affordable fees you can pay for any for any subscription to IELTS preparation anywhere in the world, right? So I recommend you take this subscription and then continue. Pachu, I know you've been jumping between classes here on YouTube every day, right? But I think if you really want to prepare for the test, get the subscription, all right? Get the subscription. Shivani, if your test is on the 14th, here's what I recommend. Look, I don't know. I haven't taken any class with you, right? So I really don't know where do you stand, as in how good is your English or how bad is your English, right? Here's what I recommend. If 14th is your test, today is 11th, right? So 12th and 13th, you have 2 days. Make sure that you're writing 2 mock tests, one tomorrow, one day after, right? Proper with full this thing, right? For 3 hours. You sit and you appear for the test, no moving around, no this, no that. So 1 o'clock, you start the test in the afternoon, 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. And then give these 2 tests so that you're in the frame of mind to appear for the test. And then just go appear for the test. Do not try to learn anything new. Do not try to do anything new, because this is too last minute for you now, right? You'll only end up getting confused. So whatever you know, just go use that and appear for the test. Once you know your result, okay, after the 14th of December, if you've already scored what you need to, very well. And I hope you do, right? I genuinely don't like it if students have to appear for the test over and over again. I truly hope you do. So all the best, okay? All the best for the test. Just whatever you know, just go try Just go practice that now. Give 2 mock tests and go appear for the test. Okay. Pacho, how to prepare well? This is just think what question you just asked. How do you prepare well? You tell me. You give me an answer. How do you prepare? How can one prepare well? Anyways, I have an answer for you. So the answer is, so if you see for the IELTS test, what do you mean by prepare well? To prepare well on the IELTS test, you first need to know English. Period. There is no option. Okay. You need to know your language properly. If you do not know English well, you cannot perform well on the IELTS test. End of story. Okay. End of story. I don't think I need to explain that any further either. So how do you learn English? How do you improve your English? So there are 3 steps to it. First one is you learn the language. Language involves grammar and vocabulary. Okay, language is grammar plus vocabulary. Both of them together. You don't just randomly memorize words, right? Up grammar and vocabulary ko you put them together and you learn. Okay, then you practice. Then you practice on a regular basis. Ki, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to, so you pick up books or you pick up exercises, all right? Or you write passages at home, you write essays at home. All of that, you do that at home. And that is how, or you join the classes on Unacademy Plus with me, right? Where I give you exercises to practice. We do a lot of practice in the class as well. So you do all of that in the class. And that is how you then improve it further. And then finally, you use English on a regular basis. So now this is the biggest challenge, all right? Using English on a regular basis is usually the biggest challenge. Why? See, what happens is most of us have family members who are not comfortable speaking in English, okay? If we try to speak with our friends in English, that is another big problem. Okay, because friends will make fun of us. They'll be like, now that the English ka sentence seekh gaya, to abhi jhad rahe hai. So that is another problem. You can't speak with them in English either. So how do you practice? So there are 2 or 3 things you can do. One, start watching shows in English. Okay. So what is happening is you've understood, you've learned something. Now you're, learning because you're listening to things. So you can now practice. So whatever you've learned, you're listening to it, so it gets better, right? Start reading books. Start reading as many books as possible, which are in English, right? Third, write. Write as much as you can. At home itself, you write essays, you write passages, and so on and so forth. That will help you improve. And then finally, when it comes to speaking. Now, speaking is something that you probably can't really, find partners very easily. So what you can do is whatever book you're reading, you read it out loud. You read the book, you read it out loud. And then after that, you later on say maybe, you pick up a question yourself and you look at yourself in the mirror. Okay, so you have a question like, for example, the question is what do you recommend? What are the places you recommend to visit in your city? Right? Let's say that's the question. So you pick up that question, you look at yourself in the mirror and you speak to yourself. So you say, in my city, I recommend that you go out and you visit the riverfront late in the evening when there is nobody out there. It's very quiet. It's very pleasant. Okay. So that gives you the confidence to speak in English as well. Okay. So that is how you use English on a regular basis. So once again, how do you perform well? How do you get comfortable using English? First, you learn the language. Second, you practice the language. Now, both of these things you can do with me on Unacademy Plus, right? Where I'm offering a language course and an IELTS course, right? Like I said, the course is otherwise 2,700 rupees. But if you use my code IELTS by Manil, you will get a discount and the course will then cost you 2,430 rupees for 1 month. And beyond that, at home itself, listen to English songs, not songs is something I don't recommend. I think not songs. Watch TV shows in English, watch movies in English, read books, English books, write essays, write passages, and then finally try picking up questions and answer those by looking at yourself in the mirror. Okay, so now let me give you a little more idea about what do I teach as part of my course. Okay, so on Unacademy Plus, like I said, I offer two courses. Okay, so one is the grammar course or the language course. As part of the language course, there are it's for 3 weeks. So the 3 weeks are 3 different levels. First week is beginner, right? Week 1, you learn all the rules that a beginner needs to know. Week 2, you learn the rules that a person who's an intermediate level would need to know. And week 3, you learn the rules that a person who's intermediate plus, not advanced, right? Not like advanced, but intermediate plus. Let's for ease, let's call it advanced. All right, you learn the advanced rules of English grammar. Okay, so for example, in week 1, I'll teach you the simple sentence structure. I'll teach you parts of speech, some of the parts of speech. Week 2, we'll learn some the more advanced parts of speech, right? Week 3, we will understand complex sentence. We'll understand compound sentence. Okay. Now, one very big problem that most people have is they're like, oh, I need to learn the complex sentence. Once I've learned the complex sentence, I can do very well on the IELTS test. Well, actually, to make a good complex sentence, you first need to learn the simple sentence. If you do not know how to make a simple sentence, you cannot make a complex sentence, period. There is no chance that you could do so. Okay, so it is very important that you go through these 2 weeks of training. If you're thinking that if I could just somehow learn everything in week 3 and avoid things from week 1 and week 2, God bless you, right? It's not going to happen. Pacho, I really don't know how do you decide, I mean, how do you come up with these things? But I don't know. I think have you still tried to take a mock test at home? Have you taken a mock test at home? Have you taken a mock test at home yet, Pachu? Have you tried a mock test? What did you score? Can you please tell me? Anyways, in the meantime, to tell you more about my other courses, so this is what happens in the language course. Then there is the IELTS course. So the IELTS course is again for so the IELTS course has been okay. Fair enough. Give an IELTS mock test. See where do you stand. Okay. If you do not do well, join me on Unacademy Plus and start studying. Okay. See if you're serious about taking the test, join, take some coaching, go appear for the test. If you're just here thinking, "Arey, should I not, or somehow bas kaise taise karke," just see if you really want to go abroad, take a call, commit, okay, prepare, take the test and go. Otherwise, you will just keep jumping between these classes here on YouTube and that's it. Okay. Because let me be very honest with you. See, these YouTube classes are only examples. These are meant to give you an idea as to how do we teach on Unacademy Plus. Okay. So you won't really get to learn everything over here. Now, I have been seeing you here on Unacademy here on YouTube for over a month, right? and you still have the same questions. You asked me the same questions 1 month back as well. I don't know if I'll be able to do it, and this is the problem, that is the problem. So that means you haven't really learned what it takes to prepare for the IELTS test, right? Which means to prepare for the IELTS test, you will need to come join the classes, right? So if you really want to uh, so if you really want to prepare for the test, do well, come join us on Unacademy Plus, okay? So yes, so you were 5.5 listening, reading, and writing, and speaking 6, right? Which is not a good score, because if you want to study abroad, you'll need 6.5, you will need 6.5 overall and minimum 6 on all four, right? Which means you need to improve. You need to improve in everything. So 1 month of just roaming between these classes here on YouTube has not done anything for you, and it will not, because YouTube only, like I said, it is only meant to give you an idea how do we teach, right? So join Unacademy Plus, and again, like I said, use my code IELTS by Manil, all right? That will give you 10% discount, right? You will get a 10% discount while subscribing, okay? So please, if you do not want to waste money taking an IELTS test, I don't know what do they charge in Nepal, but I'm assuming it would be something like 25 to 30,000 rupees for an attempt, right? Hana? How much do they charge for an IELTS test in Nepal? If you don't want to waste that money, please prepare before you go for the test, okay? Please. Okay. Now, my IELTS prep is split into 3 courses. First one is the listening and reading course, listening and speaking course. Okay. Then the second is reading, and the third is writing. This is for 1 week. This one is also for 1 week, and this one is also for 1 week. So overall, these are all put together over 3 weeks. Your IELTS test preparation will be complete. Okay. And in these 3 weeks, in the first week, it is listening and speaking. So 4 classes on listening, 1 class on speaking. Okay. And for reading, it will be 5 classes on reading, and writing, it will be 5 classes on writing. Now, all these courses are common for academic and general training. Okay, it does not matter whether you're academic or your general training. Everyone can attend these classes, because there is only one class in the writing section where there is one day when only academic students attend, and then there is one day when only general training students attend. All right, otherwise all classes are common for all students, because as such the preparation is the same for both the tests. Okay, so you don't really need to worry as much. You can, irrespective of what test you're appearing for, you can subscribe, you can enroll for these courses. So that is how that is. So 3 weeks, I'll have you ready for the test. Okay, but if your English is really weak, Pachu, in your case, your English is not very weak. So 3 weeks is pretty much all you need to prepare for the test. Okay, 3 weeks is pretty much all you need to prepare for the test. And yeah, you'll be ready. Achha, not only that, if you join Unacademy Plus, you'll be able to attend my classes, plus you'll be able to attend all other educators' classes as well. So you can attend as many classes as you want. Although that's never a great idea, because you unnecessarily will then get confused, because everyone has their own way of teaching. So probably just stick to 1 or 2 educators, learn from them, and then appear for the test, right? That is how it is. So now, if you have any questions about Unacademy Plus, about my courses, please feel free to ask me. I'll be happy to answer those questions, right? All right, Pachu, any questions? Anything you want to ask me? Again, Pacho, same thing. You can't just randomly prepare vocabulary. You don't actually, guys. So, Pacho, stop focusing so much on vocabulary. Just regular everyday vocabulary is enough to do well on the IELTS test. You need to focus more on how to structure your answer. What is the correct structure to give your answer? That is more important. If you don't know that, your vocabulary is of no use. And please, I keep saying this time and again, time and again, time and again. Stop worrying about vocabulary. Forget vocabulary for your IELTS test. Just forget vocabulary for your IELTS test. Okay? You know enough words to score a band 8 or even a band 9 on the IELTS test. Okay? You know enough. So don't worry about it. Please stop trying to worry. Stop worrying about vocabulary. All right, guys. Any last questions? These are the last questions now I'm accepting about the Unacademy Plus course, about what I teach, what can you learn, right? Or if you have any other query, I'll try my best to answer those questions. So last questions, please feel free to ask me now. What do you think? What do you think? I want to know your answer. Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea? All right. Anyways, guys, so for those of you who are watching, uh, I'm going to bring this class to an end now. But just before I bring this class to an end, I want to tell you that I have a class tomorrow, right? Sorry, on Friday, where on Friday, I have a class on the Unacademy app itself, right? Bhuvesh, I'm bringing the class to an end now. I'm really sorry, but so these are topics that are actually discussed as part of the course itself. How to prepare for a particular part on speaking is something that is taught as part of the course itself, right? So if that is something you really want to learn, you should join me on the Unacademy Plus course, right? And that is how I would recommend you prepare for the test. Okay. Bhuvesh, I think you've also joined me enough times here on YouTube, and you've probably understood by now that we do not teach as such here on YouTube. If you really want to learn with me, you should join me on the app. So download the app, follow me on the app. On Friday evening, we have a special class, which is a free class that everyone can attend, right? There were some technical issues on the class last time, but we have fixed those issues now. So we'll have a very problem-free class, right? So we'll continue this conversation over there. All right, guys. I'm going to bring this class to an end now. Thank you so much for joining in. I will see you on Friday. Keep practicing. And remember, for IELTS, keep it simple and stick to the basics. All right. Goodbye.